This again. I do think my technical difficulties are over, and so I think we're all set, and we seem to be going live all right. The phone was kind of wigging out, and I had stuff playing that shouldn't have been playing. But welcome everybody. We are back in the driver's seat one more time. I have the day off again. And just like I did last week, I am headed down to have a lunch with my beautiful bride. So, figured we could talk a little bit on the way and see if we can solve some more of the world's problems. How about that? I know some of you were with me yesterday when I was talking about the advocacy versus activism topic there, talking a little bit about what Ghost had covered in his chat the night before. Mountain Dew, good for you. It's good. It's good for you. And you know, I want to kind of spin off a topic off of that a little bit. Whether you're an advocate or an activist or whatever you are. And I know that I've said this on multiple occasions, but I kind of want to go over it again, just see how people feel about it, and see what I'm getting for, agreement, disagreement, what have you. But I've talked to a lot of people and heard from a lot of people, and I think the whole gun-owning community as a whole is of one mind, in the sense that nobody's going to come and take away our guns. We don't want it to come to the point where somebody's kicking in the door, and I know a lot of people don't believe it'll ever get to that. But if it ever did, I think everybody kind of has the same mentality. We're not going to allow for that. We're not going to put up with it. And what I want to say, I'll keep saying it as long as I need to. But why do we have to let it go that far? Why do we have to get to the point where somebody's banging on our door wanting to take our guns away before we're willing to get involved in the fight? I know a lot of people who are advocates that don't want to take the step into activism, and you know what? I said yesterday, that's fine. If it's not for you, it's not for you. Don't do it. But here's the thought that I have is sometimes you got to step a little bit past where it's comfortable and get out of that comfort zone just a little bit to make any serious change or to do any actual good. And so I don't think that it was very comfortable for our founding fathers to go against what was at the time popular opinion, and it feels today like, gosh, everybody in colonial America must have been anti-British rule and anti-king, and I don't think that was the case. I think that we've heard from more than one source that only about 3% of the colonists were willing to stand up and fight against British rule. And so 3% of Americans kicked Britain out of this country back in 1775, 76. And so I understand that sometimes a small voice can still be plenty loud, or a small number of people can be plenty loud, but if it means that we don't ever have to worry about the laws getting passed that would take away our guns, if it means that we never go that far, if it means that we never have to reform militias, we never have to take up arms against, and I don't want to take up arms against anybody, don't get me wrong, I especially don't want to take up arms against fellow countrymen and women. If they are, police, sheriff's department, FBI, ATF, U.S. armed forces, that get sent to disarm the population. And I know that that's a huge if, and a very small likelihood it would ever happen. But if it ever did, I don't want to be shooting against fellow Americans. I don't want a civil war. I don't want that to happen. So that's why I try to make my voice heard. That's why I try to speak out. I go vote. I vote my conscience. I vote for candidates who I think are not going to compromise. And yeah, sometimes that's an underdog, and the people I vote for don't always win the elections, but I know that I tried, and I did my part to get those people into a position of office. And so anybody who's ever said they're not going to take my guns, or they'll have to pry them out of my cold dead hands, or if they come for my guns, they're going to get the bullets first. Hey guys, I got some people talking to me here. I've got Zorro, the Fox is here. Danny is here. Who else do we have? Patriot in the Dark, what's going on? Thanks for joining me. So what was I saying? Anybody who's ever said those things, that they're not going to take my guns away, not while I'm alive, okay, fine, and that's a great attitude to have, and I really wish that every gun owner was that passionate. But again, why would it ever come to that? What can we do to avoid that situation entirely? That's what I want to explore. That's what I want to find out. What can we do? Who do we need to vote out of office? Who do we need to vote into office? What can we do to just raise awareness, change public opinion? Does anybody even know, honestly, what public opinion is in your area? If you stop 10 random people on the street or 10 random people in the mall, you could guess what kind of answers you'd get if you asked specific questions. How do you feel about gun ownership, things like that. You might think but would you be surprised if you actually went out and did that and stopped 10 random people and find out, how many people are pro-gun, how many people are anti-gun, how many people don't give a crap? Because I'm guessing that's probably about 80% of the population. About 10% are willing to fight on each side, and then about 80% are left in the middle who really don't care. They just want to get through their day. And how do I reach those 80%? Because I know the 10% on the other side, they're not going to change their mind no matter what kind of facts, no matter what kind of logic we give them. They've proven that. They don't really care about facts or logic. So I'm not worried about changing their minds. And I'm not worried about 10% of the population changing the laws either. I'm worried about 10% of the population that I agree with or that agrees with me also can't change the law. We've got to reach people in that 80% middle. We've got to make people aware that there are so many things that we can do, and that guns are not the problem or the solution. They're just wood and steel, or plastic and steel, or aluminum, whatever it is. It's just a hunk of something leaving us around, laying around. Why won't they leave us alone? Well, because we're easy targets. They're willing to get stupid. They don't care how dumb they look. They don't care how dumb they sound. We do. We're afraid to rock the boat. Most gun owners, I think, by nature are conservative. And conservative means you don't want to make waves. And I think it's time to splash. I really do. I don't think that we need to be stupid. I don't think that we need to lose our dignity. The parties are nominating anti-gun politicians. That is bad. That again, if we can just shed some light and debunk a lot of myths, then popular opinion will, go a long ways. I'm missing some people here. Revolver's in the house. Hey, didn't even realize who I was reading comments from. It's hard to do that while I'm driving sometimes. Now you guys all rock. Thanks for hanging out with me. No, that's my challenge to people that hear this, whether you're listening right now or you're playing this later. And I guess you're still hearing it right now, aren't you? Just not the same time as when I said it. But figure out what you can do. Figure out, again, ways that you can just start conversations without making people run screaming, without making people security. That lady right there, that guy right there, he's talking all nuts, like he's probably got a gun. And so, hey, I've got a pop-up on my screen that says my sweetheart is watching me. That's pretty cool. She's apparently not going to comment on the video, so everybody else can say hi. But she sent me a message on WhatsApp. So figure out what you can do. Figure out what you're comfortable with. Yeah, you're right. It is the criminals that are the problem. And I still don't get it. I don't understand why people don't understand. I'll never understand that. It just makes perfect sense to me. And it doesn't compute. I can't wrap my head around why other people don't understand. So I understand that not everybody agrees with me, but man, find out what you can do, figure out what you're comfortable with, challenge yourself to maybe go out of your way and maybe have what could very well be an uncomfortable conversation. But if you and I aren't willing to learn how to have that conversation, if you and I aren't willing to talk to people, then who is? I mean, who do we leave it up to? If it's not up to us, if it's not up to you and me, what are we going to do? We're going to say, hey, I don't like the NRA right now, but I do think that they should be the ones to talk to everybody, because they should be the only ones having these conversations, you know. No, I don't think so. I don't necessarily dislike, honestly, I don't dislike the NRA. It's the ILA, the Institute for Legislative Action, that I'm not a fan of. And they're the ones that keep going to Washington and peddling away my rights. I don't really care for them. The NRA is still promoting gun safety, firearms education. You know, Eddie Eagle, they're doing great things. I just wish there was a way that I could pay them and the money stay there and not go to the ILA. But that's kind of like if I donated money to Planned Parenthood and wanted the money to go to child, health care and not to abortions. Well, they can say what they want, but you dump all the water in one cup and it's all mixed together. And so I won't ever give money to them. And right now I can't give money to the NRA because I don't want to finance losing rights and losing freedoms, and I can't abide by that. So until the NRA changes their tune, and I hear similar, akin to Not One More Inch. We always hear that from a lot of people. Tim from Military Arms Channel says that all the time. I've heard him say that on a lot of videos. And that's kind of how I feel too. Not one more inch. I don't want to budge. I don't want to have to give up any more ground. It's not tactically sound to give it up. We'll never get it back. And I know people argue with that. People are like, well, look at all the states that are getting the, concealed carry. Look at all the states that are going with constitutional carry. Okay, that's fine. That's on state level, but look at the federal level. Look at Uncle Sam putting his fingers where they don't belong, telling us what we can and can't do. And he's not abiding by the document that the framers put into place that tells Uncle Sam what he can and cannot do. And that's really what we need. We need our government to realize that it's got limitations, and the Constitution describes those limitations. The Constitution doesn't tell us what we can and can't do. The Constitution tells the government what it can and cannot do. Yeah, you're right, Vanessa. We have to look at all that stuff. Yeah, some states are going with constitutional carry, although some states, their state legislature votes it in and then their government bans it. Oklahoma. That was That was the way I understand it. That was a Republican governor too, so that was pretty bad. But yeah, vetoed the bill that both houses in the state legislature passed, and now they still don't have constitutional carry. So hopefully they get a chance to vote on that and override the veto. But yeah, states, and you know what? That's, I don't know. I think that states ought to have the right to set their own laws. At the same time, I think that any gun law is a violation of the Second Amendment, because the Constitution does say that the state government cannot supersede the federal government. You can't have laws in your state that contradict federal law. And so the federal law is the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It's there in black and white. So I think that's pretty cut and dried. I know people for 200 plus years have been looking at that. They're almost, yeah, over 200 years now. Have been looking at that and going over it, and well, what does this comma mean, or what does that phrase mean, or well, if you take this out of it and set it off to the side on its own, it means something else. Yeah, but that's not what they meant by it, and we all know it. And anybody who says other, email. But I'd love to hear back from you guys. It's great to hear from you when I'm in the vehicle, but I don't always watch the comments. I don't always go back and either right away. Sometimes. All right, pulling into this town here where my wife works. The road's a little bumpy. I guess you guys can tell that. And phone signal goes a little iffy. So, any of you still with me? I appreciate you riding along. If you want, I'll fire it back up when I head home. We'll see what else we can talk about. In the meantime, anybody that wants to shoot me a topic, questions, anything you want me to talk about, go ahead and do that for me if you want. Everybody have a great rest of your, see you again.